Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any art.
Welcome to Tlbtv. Today on Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, we will discuss a topic that the Liberty Beacon Project is proud to present. A clear vision for America, in a discussion with TLB partner and patriot and author William Muckler. This is sure to be a very interesting discussion. And let me, of course, mention that this is made possible due to our great friends at Conscious Consumer Network. If you get a chance, please visit their site, do whatever you can to help keep them on air. They are supported by individuals like you and me. Okay, so let's get into this, all right? Those who have spent, say, the last 3 to 4 generations living in America have a unique perspective, one that those who have only lived 1 or 2 generations may not have. We remember growing up in a country where freedom, education, productivity, and the ability to prosper was a beacon to the world. America was considered Camelot, the shining castle on the hill, and the world was in awe of us. This facilitated a global migration to the land of the free. What happened? Take a look around you. Answer me this. What happened? Though, through this unique perspective, those of us that have lived that 3 or 4 generations, we have watched this country incrementally fall to a point where the only true power remaining in this once great and prosperous country is our military. Yes, I said our military. Something wielded to bully and blackmail nations who don't fall in line with the agenda set by the powers that be. Those powers being the oligarchs that pull the strings of our puppet leaders. We are broke, sick, the sickest nation on this planet, far less productive, and controlled by those ruled by greed and the thirst for power. This is not the America that those like us and my guest were born into. Okay? Now, any decent researcher in the liberty movement or any awake and concerned citizen can list our problems and woes. This isn't hard to do. Open your eyes, do a little research. But this list is overwhelming and frightening even to the most battle-hardened patriot. What we need to do, okay, is also provide solutions. A light at the end of the tunnel to facilitate hope and the realization that all is not lost. We the people constitute the most powerful force in America, and it was designed that way, although most people have forgotten. We sit at the top of the totem pole in the structure of this republic, and unless we forget this and allow a supposed subservient government to abscond with our constitutional authority. And over the years, this is exactly what we have allowed. Okay, this is what needs to change. Change and reform requires solutions, okay, to existing issues and problems. It takes a special individual to not only present the problems, but also the solutions. This is something we try very, very hard to do in the Liberty Beacon Project, which is scattered across the globe like a shotgun blast at 100 paces. But today we are privileged to have a discussion with my friend, William Muckler, veteran, visionary, entrepreneur, problem solver, and all around good guy who has had 4 generations on this planet. William is a TLB contributing partner and an author of the book 2020, A Clear Vision for America. And by the title alone, you've got to understand that he has done a lot of delving into solutions. Okay, William has watched the degradation of this country for 4 generations, but unlike most who only rail against this tyranny, he has formulated those solutions well within the realm of we the people. A call to action, substantial solutions to regain our liberty and freedom, common sense answers to create a bright future for our children, a clear vision. And how are you today, my friend Bill?
I'm excellent to outstanding, Roger. I'm excited to be here with you.
Did I do you justice in that intro?
Yes, more so than I could ever have hoped for. Very, very good. And yes, it's all about solutions. That's what we need, and we need to implement those solutions.
All right, so why don't you start this ball rolling by telling us a little bit about your past, telling us what you've seen. There had to have been something. Something had to have happened to you. You had to have observed something. Something had to trigger in that brain of yours for you to decide that you needed to sit down and write a book, not only detailing the issues, but the solutions for those issues. If you get constant bad news over and over and over and over again, pretty soon you're either going to shut the news off or you're going to walk into the path of a speeding train because you just don't want it anymore. So it's up to people like the Liberty Beacon Project and outstanding individuals like yourself to offer a path that at the end of this tunnel leads to a bright future. Let's talk about how you got there, when you came to the realization, and what facilitated the writing of this book. So the floor is yours for the next few minutes, my friend.
I suspect it started very early in my life. I always had an interest in how we operate the government. And the more I saw what was happening, I saw this is not right. It's wrong. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. The politicians, the administrations, just were not working for we the people. They were working for themselves, and it became so clear to me. And I think what really got me started on the book, and the whole idea of the book, was back in the 70s when Carter became president, and I saw the dysfunction that we were heading into. We were spiraling into this dysfunction. And then when Reagan became president, I saw, okay, somebody's got some solutions. So things became better, but the Democrat Congress continually ambushed Reagan. Every time he came up with an idea, they would come back and say, yes, we'll do that, and then they would not. And, you know, for example, with taxes, various things like that. And I thought, why are we paying all these taxes? I mean, why do we do this? And why do we have all these regulations? And I worked as a consultant, so I saw all the regulations that my clients had to work through, and they became more and more regulated. And then I'd see the federal and the states coming in to visit the client, and they'd be giving them 2 different messages with 2 different agendas, but both of them threatening to fine the people who were trying to do something good for our economy and hiring people. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So if you want to go back to the beginning, I think when I became a commissioned officer in the Marine Corps, I swore to uphold and defend and support the Constitution of the United States of America. And I really took that seriously. And I read the Constitution, and I tried to study it, and I tried to understand it. And when I talk to people today, no one can even tell me what the 5 rights that are guaranteed under the First Amendment are. And I think if you don't know that, then how can you possibly expect, you know, the government to treat you right?
You can't defend what you can't understand.
Yes.
Not properly, anyway. Please continue.
So that got me to the idea where I decided I have to write this down because no one else will. And I thought, okay, this old Marine, this old great-grandfather is just going to sit down and going to write everything down that's in my head, And I had written the book in my head. I tried to write it on a tablet, and that wouldn't work at all. You know, that was just crumbled up paper. So finally I got the idea, well, Microsoft Word is the way to go. So I just sat down at the computer and just started writing, and I just let it flow. And I came to the idea that 2020 was the catalyst. So it was 20. I came up with 20 issues, 20 solutions. Those are the most severe issues that are faced by the federal government. And all my research told me that we have to eliminate these more than 100 taxes that the federal, state, and local governments have placed on us, and come up with one tax that does not require any additional bureaucracy to
facilitate it. All right. The miracles of modern technology. It seems that our friend Bill, who is back with us now, drops off at a predetermined amount of time, and then it dies. And then, well, he's got his headset and mic on now. But let me say something before you continue on there, Bill. You're talking about 20 problems, 20 solutions, but you're also talking about a clear vision. Well, if I was to talk about a clear vision, I would be talking about 2020 vision. So not only, I believe it has a double meaning. Yes, to 20 problems, yes, to 20 solutions, but a clear vision. So let's go back to where you were discussing and obviously we won't have time to go into depth on all 20 problems and all 20 solutions, because there's a few other things we want to talk about, like the elections, what we see going on around the country today. And I'd like people to get that perspective from you, because you have that 4 generations of perspective. So you have the ability to take 80 years of history and compare and see the change. I've got 60 years of history. I know what the changes are that have occurred over the last 60 years. And you have an even better perspective than I do. So let's go back to where you were, and let's take this forward and synopsize what your solutions are.
Well, the main solution is to bolster the U.S. economy. I want to see the U.S. economy explode. And we're told now that the new normal is 1 or 2% growth. I think it can be 5, 6, 8% very easily. We've got $2 trillion parked overseas, so they tell us. I want to bring that back. And the way to bring that back is to eliminate the corporate tax and the capital gains tax, because those taxes are not really doing the people any good, because the corporation just pass them back on to us anyway. When they hit their bottom line, they pass them on us. So that's what we have to do. If we can eliminate taxes and stop this this administration or executive branch thinking that they have to write regulations to regulate people on how to run their businesses, when we're the people who know how to run businesses and they don't, and yet they're writing regulations telling us what to do. So that's really what it's all about. Stop taxing us, stop regulating us, and let us do what we can do best, because the people in America are the creators. We're the ones who know what to do and how to do it. That will bump our economy up to somewhere between 6 and 8%. So when we do that, we put more people at work. And when we start putting people at work, we can start training people. We can take the people from the inner cities, the people who don't have the low-income people, the people who don't have the training, and we can get them in the workforce, and we can get them to a point where they can be contributing and they can be feeling good about themselves, because nobody can feel good about themselves waiting for a welfare check or a handout from the government. So what's happened is we've enslaved the people in America, and what I want to do is I want to bring them up and let them experience the joy of working and feeling good about accomplishing things, and that's really what it's all about. If we can make everybody work together and bring everybody together, we can eliminate a lot of the things we see happening today. The protests today are really all about people not having an advantage or people not being able to get ahead. And the reason they can't is because the federal government is stopping them from being able to do that.
When a society comes to depend on a government, a monolithic government to make up for its shortcomings, it can no longer call itself a free people again. This is where we are at today, when better than 50% of the population is receiving some sort of a government subsidy. What you have is better than 50% of the society that is beholden to the government, and in order to maintain whatever it is they're receiving from the government, they must support that government. So what you have done is enslaved a society, because we have a president, and this pisses me off more than anything. We have a government and a president who is supposed to be a constitutional scholar, who is constantly telling everybody we must save our democracy. In order to protect our democracy, because we live in a democracy, somebody needs to slap this guy upside the head, this constitutional scholar, and tell him we don't live in a freaking democracy. We live in a constitutional republic. In a democracy, okay, what you have is the majority, whether it's 50.1% to 49.9%, the 50.1% rules. In a constitutional republic, the entire government is set up to protect the rights of the individuals, not the majority. So where we sit today is, if the government, and this is a point you made, I'm just extrapolating from that, if you have a government that has beholding to it even 50.1% of the population, which they do, in fact, then you literally control that society with government strings. Okay? And that's what you've stated, Bill. I've just, again, taken it out a little bit further. So now what we have is 50.1% of the society beholding to the government, who won't go against the government because they don't want to lose what they're getting. And thus, we can never call ourselves a free society again. Have I got this wrong, Bill?
No, you have it exactly right. And our founders had it exactly right, because they did not want a democracy. They thought democracy was equivalent to mob rule, and they wanted a representative government. And we're a government of laws. We're ruled by laws, and we have an excellent constitution. There's no question about it. But what's happened is, over the years, the politicians, the whoever have the lobbyists have caused it to become bastardized to a point where now we don't really go by the rule of law anymore. We go by mob rule, and we can see that today. We can see it in our elections, and this is something that is really bothered me, is influence on elections. And I've seen this now for years, and it just, that if we influence the elections to the extent that they are influenced today, then that wipes out, erases the entire Constitution and the rule of law, because then we become mob ruled, and we've lost our Constitution, we've lost our rights, and like you say, we've become enslaved to the federal government.
Well, we have such obvious examples of that just within the last couple of days. We see the DNC chairman, okay, that lady was the head of the whole DNC, and what happened? Her butt got fired. Why did her butt get fired? Because WikiLeaks and other people released a bunch of emails showing that they were trading, okay, favorites from Hillary Clinton, or prospective favors from Hillary Clinton, selling them to large corporations in order to bring funds into the DNC. So you give us a lot of money, and our presidential candidate gets in, which we're all gonna just about guarantee, and you're gonna get favorite scenario, okay? And this is the reason why, if this never would have been made public, she never would have got fired. But as embarrassed as they are, they had to do something. So they fired her. Now, we're talking about a candidate, and we're talking about Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1933, stating the presidents are selected, not elected. It is incumbent on most to believe that the person who has been selected to lead this country for the next 4 or 8 years by the oligarchs, by the elites, is in fact Hillary. So if you get Hillary into office, Hillary is beholden to all of these oligarchs. But what happens when a DNC chairman gets fired? Within hours, Hillary hires her onto her staff.
Exactly.
Now, let's talk about birds of a feather flocking together. Okay, I made up a meme today with a picture of the ex-DNC chairman and Hillary, and under her picture I put, "I got fired." And under Hillary's picture, where she's got a big smirk on her face, I put, "You got hired." And I mean, the blatancy here is, I mean, do they honestly believe that the massive majority of America is so dumbed down that we can't put these pieces together? All it did when she got fired was throw more power to Hillary. Okay? Because who do you think is basically filling the void for the DNC chairman? Who do you think's wielding the most power in the DNC right now? That would be Hillary. So it gives her more power. It gives her more authority over the the Democratic Party. And who does she hire on as somebody to advise her? The crooked, lying, cheating DNC chairman that just got fired. Why don't you weigh in on that, Bill, please?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that just blew my mind also. But I think what I'm seeing is, I remember back in 2003, I was working on a consulting project, and one of the guys on the project was a staunch Democrat. And we were just talking, and I had a lot of respect for him, and we were good friends. But I said, you know, your Democrat Party is really leaning way to the left. You're becoming socialist. And I said, I don't understand how you can continue to support that as the way you do.
Somebody obviously doesn't want this show to go out because it seems like we get the exact same amount of time and then your voice goes away. And are you, can you say something now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We can hear you. All right, let's go over again because we know, and I don't know, I haven't been watching the clock. In a few minutes, you're going to have to do whatever you did again because we're going to lose your voice again. But tell me why you think you're seeing this, because I got to tell you something. If it wasn't so absolutely detrimental to a free society in this country, it would be freaking hilarious, Bill.
Okay, I see my Democrat friends, and they think that the Democrat Party is the way it was 50 years ago, but it's not. And I try to explain to them, you're leaning so far left, you're becoming socialist, you're becoming a welfare state. Don't you see that? And they say, oh no, and they try and blame it on me, and they deny it. They try deceit, denial, everything you can. If there's a word that starts with D, that's what they use, right? So D for Democrat. Okay, so I see this, and for example,
would you say D for dummy too? Then, oh, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
All right. Let me flip something in here, then you can continue on. For anybody out there who believes that we don't see corruption, and we don't see graft, and we don't see all of this in the Republicans as well. It's two sides of the same coin. Right now, it's the Democrats that are under the microscope. This is why we are hitting hard on the Democrats. Please continue, Bill.
Okay, and let me answer that. In a lot of my blogs, I write, the Democrats are really the evil ones, and the Republicans are the naive ones, because the Republicans want to be liked by everybody. They want to be liked by the media, so they go along with the evil Democrats. So really, they're as complicit as the Democrats are. And really what it boils down to is they're all politicians, and the politicians are only interested in one thing, their reelection and their power and their money, and they could care less about we the people.
If you take my scenario in explaining the Republican versus Democrat, it makes things so much simpler to understand. Democrats and Republicans are two different sides of the same coin. If you look at two different sides of a coin, they represent something different. They look different. You would think they are two different entities if you didn't physically see them connected together on the same piece of metal. But the true test of whether Democrats or Republicans or either side of a coin is different or has a different meaning is when you go up to the cash register and you lay it down on that counter to pay for something, it doesn't matter whether heads is up or tails is up. It's going to perform the same function. It's going to accomplish the same thing. Democrats and Republicans today are two sides of the same coin. Have I got that right, Bill?
Yes, you do. Actually, another analogy you could use, it's like compare the USA to the NFL, except that the USA only has 2 franchises, 2 teams. The NFL has 32 teams. So we got 2 teams, and they both belong to the same deal. And so, yeah, and all these people, all these politicians, they all belong to the CFR, and nobody knows exactly what in the hell that is except you and me, the Council on Foreign Relations. And that, wow, talk about a dangerous organization. Yeah, they all belong to it, though. The Republicans, the Democrats, the Bushes, the Clintons, they all are all in this thing together.
That's the Congress of the elites. That is the Congress of the elites. That's where the decisions are made and handed down to the puppets that are facilitated against, I didn't say for, I said against you and I. Have I got that right, Bill?
You got it right, absolutely. We're on the same page. We're just giving a little bit different analogies, and hopefully our viewers and listeners will think, okay, I think I understand what these guys are talking about. But anyway, when I was talking about my friends becoming socialists and not really understanding it, look what happened to Bernie Sanders. Now, I am not for Bernie Sanders at all, but he whipped up such a furor among the young people and followers and so forth. But he had no chance of winning. Even if he would have got all the vote, he couldn't have won because the Democrat Party has this thing called super delegates. And the super delegates were going to all go for Hillary, so there was no way that Bernie could possibly win. I looked into it myself. I thought, I can run this country. I can be the president. What do I have to do to become the president? And I looked into it, and a citizen like myself, or any one of the viewers, or yourself, Roger, we cannot be nominated because the two-party system. We go back to this NFL with 2 franchises. There's 2 franchises, and they've got everybody else locked out. They're not taking anybody else in, and so you have the Green Party. It's kind of a token thing. They can't even get on the ballot of all 50 states. And we got the same thing with the Libertarians. Nobody's taking them seriously. They have no chance. And an independent has absolutely no chance at all. The only person that could probably win as an independent might be Trump if he used all of his money and just decided, I'm going to be an independent, not a member of a party. He could maybe win 40 to 35, or something like that. 40 to 30 or whatever.
I don't know if you want to jump onto this, but it's something I do want to mention to all of those who are listening, and that is that so much that's being done against us is. Did you know that 70% of the bills, laws, and executive orders passed in this country are outside of the authority of Congress and the president to pass?
Yes, I did. I researched that. What I found out since Obama has been in office, they've written more than 80,000 pages of regulations that they're imposing upon we the people. Over 80,000. And right now, they're still trying to get through, from what I understand, 4,300 more regulations. And none of those go through Congress. They're all written by bureaucrats. This is what I was talking about. People who don't know how to do anything, telling people that know how to do something what to do.
Well, let's take it one step further, okay? I would tell you that 90 to 99%, and that's almost 10% slide there, but anywhere from 90 to 99% of our lawmakers are lawyers, okay?
Yes.
Most of Congress, lawyers.
Yes.
Massive amount of presidents, lawyers. Most of his executive branch, lawyers. Did you know that it is unconstitutional, or it is definitely, okay, stated as being unpermitted for lawyers to serve in the Congress, the Senate, or as president of the United States?
I was not aware of that.
They are not permitted to serve. But how far has that been buried? How far down has that been buried? Lawyers cannot serve the people, okay? But A massive majority of them are. And what is it that they do best? They use the doublespeak. They use the fancy two-step. They use thousands of pages of regulation to bury redirection, misdirection, and divisiveness that you and I never have a hope of understanding. When a bill is passed, we are told, well, this bill is to make sure that underprivileged kids get school money for lunches at school. What they don't tell you is that there are 10,000 pages of riders on that bill that say that certain corporations get a tax break, that certain corporations are allowed to hide so much money in offshore companies, that certain corporations have a favored status with the government in contract bidding, that certain corporations and the corporatism screams up. What most people don't understand is that a bill is absolute bullcrap. A bill is basically an umbrella to hide so much bureaucracy that we'll never know about. And these are written by the lawyers who aren't even supposed to be there.
That's an excellent point. I did not know that, but there's something I do know. I watch all the talking heads on TV last week and this week, and they're talking about the platform. Oh, what's going to be in the platform? Bernie's going to get some input into the platform, or Ted Cruz is going to be able to have some say in the platform. The platform is bull crap also, because I have not seen one platform, and this goes back to the 1940 election that Roosevelt won over Dewey, where anybody enacted anything that was on a platform. The platform is just something they use to fool the people into thinking, oh, we're going to do all these wonderful things that never happen.
No, it not only doesn't happen, but you want a real blatant scenario that covers that. All you have to do is look at all of the promises that Obama made when he ran for president. I'm going to make sure GMOs are labeled. Now he's the biggest anti-GMO president in history. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get us out of these wars. I'm going to bring that money back and we are in more wars covertly or overtly than any other president has seen over in the history of this country. If you take the entire platform that Obama ran on, okay, and you analyze it, what you find out is he only kept one promise, which he did, and I've got to give him credit for that. He did keep one promise, and guess what that promise is, Bill?
Oh,
no, I'm not even going to let you guess. I'm going to tell you, okay?
Okay.
We are just 5 days away from fundamentally transforming America, and he absolutely kept that promise.
Yes.
He fundamentally transferred us from what was left of a democratically run society, a semi-free society, into a totally authoritarian society whereby the government, due to the fact that over 50% of us owe some allegiance to the government due to handouts, we have mob rule controlled by an oligarchy in this country. So the one promise he kept out of all of them is he has fundamentally transformed America in his 8 years. Have I got that wrong, Bill?
No, you have that right. And so what happens to our beautiful Constitution?
He's a constitutional scholar. My God, who knows better how to wreck the Constitution than a constitutional scholar, Bill? So what we're seeing here is not only corrupt political systems, okay? And we're seeing a corrupt overall governance, all right? But let's look at the chain of command, because as in anything, you and I being ex-military personnel, Bill, we know clearly about the chain of command. You have the oligarchs. The oligarchs control the puppet strings of the congressmen, the presidents, the senators, the SCOTUS, okay, the our Supreme Court.
Right.
And then they go down to the parties and proliferate through the parties who recruit the new puppets to come in and replace the old puppets that need to be replaced or haven't functioned as well as they needed to, so on and so forth. So is this the proper chain of command we're seeing? And again, we're looking at a presidential election coming up. It's been known for over 2 years, maybe 3 years, who the next president was going to be. And there's nothing we're going to do to stop it, is there?
No, there isn't.
unless a massive majority of this country stands up and says, so many of us are going to vote for one particular party, and that would probably be Trump, whether they like him or not, that even you can't hide the lies.
Yeah. Yeah, we need Howard Beale from Network to tell them we're mad as hell and we can't take it anymore. But
that's the opening for this show. Did you know that? That's the video that plays at the beginning of the show every week.
No, I did not know that.
Yes,
Yeah,
Network.
That was a great movie. That's a great opening.
One of my favorite movies.
I remember one of the first times we talked, maybe a couple years ago, we talked about this, and you talked about the hierarchy has changed, and I learned from you on that, and I've used that because it's the federal government has made the states regional departments of the federal government, and then we the people down here, sucking on the teat of the federal government when it should be
the employees. With the employees, you've got the federal government who owns the corporation, or you got the owners of the corporation, the federal government, which is the board of directors. Then you've got the states, which is the infrastructure of the company. Then you've got the servants or the employees, which are us, and that's 180 degrees out of what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. It's upside down. And
yep.
We, the people, have allowed it to become upside down because we are not standing up and saying, look, we're mad as hell. We ain't going to take it anymore. And we're not enforcing our elected officials to do what's right for us. We just say, well, we'll just let them do it. And we see that all the time. I see it every day. People have no clue as to what's going on in the world. They have no idea what's going on. I can't exist without knowing what's going on. I talked to my brother today, and he said, did you see TV this morning? I said, no, I was really busy. I hadn't had a chance to watch. He said, did you see Trump's news conference? I said, no. He said, well, let me tell you about it. And so he told me about and I thought, wow, I really missed something. What happened to me? So that really bothers me.
Well, you know what? It's very, very simple. It's been stated for centuries that any government left to its own devices shall eventually, gravitate towards tyranny. And what we are seeing is exactly what you described, Bill. We are seeing a massive society that, due to complacency, that due to a massive and it's not all of our blame, because we have been put under a massive program of propaganda. In the late 1980s, or excuse me, the early 1980s, William Casey, who was director of the CIA, stated, "We will know that our program of disinformation has succeeded when everything the American people believe is untrue." Well, here we are. Here we sit. So when you've got a massive program of disinformation, a massive program of fluoridation, GMOs, vaccinations, geoengineering, massive drugging, we're the most drugged society on the planet. So you've got the most ignorant, the most dumbed down society, and the most propagandized society. How is it really a stretch for anybody to believe that we have walked away from or turned our back on our ability to hold our leaders' feet to the fire? And without that, any republic that does not hold its government's feet to the fire, that government shall eventually gravitate towards tyranny. Here we are. We're knocking on the door. Matter of fact, that door is part way open. It's up to us to slam the damn thing back shut before they get out it, because once they get out that door, it's over, my friends.
Yes, we're certainly in the stage of apathy to dependency. And dependency will go back to enslavement. So that's where we are in this stage of our development as a country.
Let me take that one step further real quick. Take the word independence. That means you and I are free to do what we do as long as we don't harm our neighbors. Take the IN off, you have dependence. This government has chopped the IN, or in dependence, chop the IN off, and what we're being left with is dependence.
Dependency, exactly. So here we are. The system is rigged against us, and we're dumbing down the people. We've got more people going out and looking for Pokemans with Pokemon Go than we have people trying to understand what's really happening and what what are our real rights under the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, etc. If you ask somebody how many amendments are, nobody can tell you there's 27. And I look at it and I'm thinking, when Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, well, how did he come up with that? So I started researching it back, and he got that from George Mason and the Virginia Constitution. And so I went back and I started studying that. And I saw in there what they really wanted to do is they wanted to have the rights of life, liberty, and the rights of property. But that never really got into the Bill of Rights, the property rights. Now, we don't own ourselves anymore. We don't own our rights anymore. I'm not so sure we own our property anymore. You know,
we don't.
So how did we allow the government to?
Well, let me throw something
into a point where we're like that.
Let me throw something back at you. You mentioned Pokemon Go, okay? I'm going to tell everybody watching that I read something on that the other day that absolutely shocked me. There's a lot, the NSA does a lot to spy on us. They really do. And a lot of it, they can almost do legally or either semi-legally or legally today. But there are still things they cannot do. Pokemon Go, with everybody that is involved in this, just does everything that the NSA couldn't do legally anymore, because it tracks you everywhere, anywhere, knows everything you're doing every day, knows where you are, what street you're walking down. So if you would like to be a junior partner of the NSA, do a little Pokemon Go, okay?
Yeah,
help these guys out.
An unpaid junior partner.
Oh yeah. And when I heard that, I started laughing, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's absolutely true, and it's a huge sensation. Okay? It's a huge sensation, and what you're doing is feeding a raw stream, a immense stream of data continuously in for everybody to know everything you're saying, everywhere you are, every place you're walking, every place you're visiting, what your habits are. It's freaking insane, Bill. But this is where media stands today. Media is the biggest tool for the dumbing down, the making ignorant of, and the enslaving of the American society. And these media giants are all owned by the same individuals who own the puppets in our government. Anybody who doesn't believe that the media, which was supposedly the fourth branch, the branch that would report on the corruption of a government to keep us a free society, has not been bought and not fully owned and not a fully operating mechanism of the oligarchs who own our government, you're an idiot. Have I got that wrong, Bill?
No, you have that absolutely right. And that's so true. And when you're talking about that, you know, the government and the corporations know everything about us. If I go to buy something online and I go to fill out, Google Auto Chrome fills out everything for me. They already know my information better than I do. Think about that.
Oh, I don't have to. I have a piece of software that shifts my IP to different countries so that people don't know exactly where I'm sitting. Okay. I'm using a browser that blocks everything on Windows 10, because if you're using Windows 10, you're sharing so much stuff with Microsoft, who shares so much stuff with the government, that you haven't got a clue. Okay?
Is that why they gave it to us free?
I have on my computer, I block at least 90 to 95% of everything that is tracking me in any way, shape, or form. It's physically impossible to block everything all the time, but and with enough money and enough effort, they could trace things back to me. But I make it extremely difficult for them, because you know what? I am one of those awake of individuals. I know what's happening to me. I know the enslavement that is the people are trying to enforce on me. But we're getting down to the last few minutes here, my friends. So what I want you to do, tell people about your book. Tell people where they can get your book. Let's get a real quick wrap up from you in about 2 minutes, Bill, because your sound's probably going to die in about 2 minutes anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I wrote my book, and it's available as an ebook, and it's available as a print book, hardcover. It's on Amazon.com. You can go get it from Barnes & Noble. You can buy it as an ebook. You can buy it on
All right, so we just lost Bill's voice. We can't hear him anymore. But you know, this is something that's been happening throughout the show. I honestly do believe somebody didn't want this show to happen because this is the fourth time, and Biggie's an absolute who is our producer is an absolute genius at editing. So most of you who are watching this in the YouTube version won't see the drop-offs, but I'm going to tell you they were there. So Bill has had to leave because we no longer have a signal input from him, and there's not enough of the show left for us to trip through and try and get him back again. Suffice it to say, Bill is a good friend. Bill is a phenomenal partner of the Liberty Beacon Project. 2020, A Clear Vision for America. You can find a link to that directly on the Liberty Beacon Facebook, the Liberty Beacon, the article, excuse me, on the Liberty Beacon for this show, and also on Conscious Consumer Network. And Bill, are you back with us?
I'm back with you.
All right, well, I'm wrapping it up. So let me tell you that we do appreciate you being here, my friend. Anybody who wants to get to your book, there'll be a link on the article that's on Conscious Consumer Network associated with this show, and the article that's on the Liberty Beacon associated with this show. Bill, we so much appreciate you. You'll be back again soon. We always appreciate your wisdom and the fact that you have 4 generations of perspective that you can look back on and tell us what's really happening, not what they're telling us is happening. You're appreciated, my friend.
Thank you so much.
And for everybody watching this show, thank you so much. This is the Liberty Beacon Project, Tlbtv, eradicating programmed ignorance. And my final parting shot, as on every show, is go to consciousconsumernetwork.com. I believe it's .com. Anyway, Conscious Consumer Network. Put that into your search bar. Go there. Hit the donate button. It's people like you and me that keep these people on the air and allow the truth to get out there. And anybody who doesn't think it's the truth, we don't challenge you to prove us wrong. I dare you to prove us wrong. And once you find out we're right, you'll come back to us over and over again. I wish you all a pleasant day, a pleasant evening, depending on where you are. And thank you for watching TLB TV.
Conscious Consumer Network was designed to create a live broadcast TV network for free and independent media, and has been live on the air since the 1st of January 2015. CCN gets millions of minutes watched every month and is viewed in over 140 countries, having produced around 1,400 shows and counting.
And you know, it's very hard to get on the mainstream media, of course, the corporate media that's getting tighter and more monopolized and more restrictive for any outside information.
The live broadcasts are free to view and all shows are archived in high definition on YouTube. CCN plays host to a stellar team of broadcasters and producers, all of whom rely on the network to get their message and information out to the world. CCN has continued to evolve, constantly seeking to create greater media usage and opportunities for both broadcasters and viewers, including supporting projects such as the newly launched consciouscommunities.org, a brand new social media platform that is free to use and has been created for those dedicated to the pursuit of freedom, justice, peace, and sustainability to come together and co-create the solutions to a better world. Due to the constant heavy usage, we are in need of replenishing and replacing of key hardware and infrastructural wear and tear. This includes the fixing and replacing of parts of the live broadcast equipment system, as well as increasing storage capacities for content and projects. Without this, CCN and its affiliate projects will simply not be able to continue. Conscious Consumer Network is a publicly funded project, and it is up to you all to keep CCN on the air. Support our funding drive with a donation or become a monthly pledger. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.